Hi, this is Patrick Verdonck, and welcome to Talks at Rhineland. I'm here today with my friend Nick Minekime, a managing director at Altus Power. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me.
So, Nick, I've known you for many years, but I'd love for you to give a little bit of an introduction on your background and tell our watchers about where you've been in your career and what you're currently doing.
Great. So I've been in the solar business since about 2010, so just over a decade. I started my career in Asia at Morgan Stanley. Before that, I studied Chinese in college and did a master's at National Zhengzhou University in Taiwan. I did 2 years in investment banking, and since then, I've been a principal investor my entire career. I've worked at a variety of firms, Capricorn Investment Group, which is a large $5 billion private investment firm, primarily managing money for one individual and his foundation. True Green Capital, where I joined very early and helped the firm grow over a period of about 6 years. And then about 6 months ago, I joined Altus Power America.
Great. So, Nick, having been involved with solar investments from a couple of different approaches, family office to more private equity style investments, what would you say that it takes to be a great investor in solar? What skills, what attributes do you really need to have to be successful investing capital in solar?
So I think all investing starts with fundamental building blocks. Understanding what moves the needle, right? In any investment, how do you lose money? How do you make money? So you need to have a basic understanding of accounting. You need to have some basic understanding of financial modeling. I spent the first 10 years of my career doing things that had almost nothing to do with solar or energy. Middle market lending during the financial crisis, value investing in, pharmacy drug royalties, looking at real estate, looking at hedge funds, manufacturer, investing in Tesla in the early rounds. So I think if you want to be an investor, there's no substitute for investing and getting broad experience in all types of investing. So solar specifically, to be a good investor, you also need to understand development, which is totally different than investing.
Sure.
And I think we were talking before the call, you have to have the building blocks.
Yep.
To be a good developer, you have to understand how does the financial model work? What's an IRR? What's the difference between a contracted IRR and an IRR with merchant? What's the cash on cash return? You have to understand project finance and bankability. How does tax equity work? So you combine all those things, and then you start to understand development risk, which is interconnection costs, permitting, construction overruns, schedule risk is a big one people don't think about, production risk. So really, to be a good investor in solar, I think you need to be an owner-operator, because the only way you can really understand the downside in your model, which is what most people chronically underestimate, and by the way, including myself, I'm not immune from this, is if you've operated a power plant. You've been through a stop work order because your easement was 25 feet wide instead of 30, and the rules had changed. If you've been through a construction dispute, if you've been through a year where it snowed 3 times more than it's ever snowed before in Massachusetts, and you actually saw no production in February. That's what we had happen in 2015. So that's a long-winded answer. Hopefully helpful.
No, it's very helpful to hear your background, and I think getting into the details really matters. And I think a lot of people look at the big picture when it comes to investing in solar, but the details matter. Forced outages, stop work orders, all these things have a real impact on the returns. So I think this is very, very good insight. One thing I'm curious about, solar's become an asset class that is growing and growing, but I understand your firm, Altus, now is looking to really broaden its scope and position itself as an electrification company as opposed to just purely a solar company. Do you want to explain a little bit about your vision and how you guys see that?
So we started out doing solar only, as did most of the owner-operators. Recently, we've been adding storage to our project. We just commissioned our first solar plus storage project. We're looking at standalone storage. We're looking at solar plus storage. We're looking at EV charging. We are open for business, and we're really exploring anything that has to do with clean energy and in particular, how do we move electrons that are clean into customers' accounts so they can save money.
That's great. Well, it seems like you're using your expertise from solar and really trying to broaden that into a broader set of services and projects. That's great to hear.
It's all just a natural evolution, right? It's like you're a pasta chef and you make marinara, and then you learn how to do bolognese, and then you do a vodka sauce. It's all still pasta, and everything we're doing is still clean energy and primarily has some connection to solar.
Excellent. Well, look, that's I'm very excited to see your company grow and certainly how you help them reach those goals.
So Nick, 2020 has been a good year for us.
Yeah, there's one question I ask all my guests, and it's the question: what advice would you give to yourself as a 22 or 23-year-old just out of college? Thinking back to all the experiences you've had, all the things you've learned, if you were starting out today, looking to build a career in energy and clean energy in particular, what advice would you give yourself?
Follow your passion. Do what you're deeply passionate about, what you're interested in. When you're graduating from college, if you want to go and learn Chinese, go and learn Chinese. Don't worry about how exactly you're going to use it. If you're interested in counterterrorism work, go join the CIA. I think doing things you're deeply passionate about is the key to success. And I think it's impossible to achieve extraordinary results in anything if you're not deeply passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly in the company of the great late Steve Jobs with that advice. And I think it's certainly very, very good for people to give that some thought when they're making decisions.
I used to have a Steve Jobs quote on my wall when I lived in San Francisco, Patrick, every morning. And this was actually just after the financial crisis when, a lot of us were kind of rethinking what we wanted to do. And those of us at investment firms who were thinking, how do we reposition? Mm-hmm. And he had a quote, I think it was from a Stanford graduation speech or something, where he said every day he looked in the mirror and asked himself, am I excited to do what I'm about to do today? And any time that his answer was no, he said, I've got to rethink things. If I died today, would I want this to be my last day? So there's a practicality aspect to that perhaps he was ignoring. And sometimes if you're working on a big RFP, you're trying to get a deal closed, you just have to get up and do what it takes. But at the end of the day, if you wake up and you're tap dancing to work, to use Warren Buffett's favorite analogy, you're going to have the most fun and be the most successful you can be.
Well, look, Nick, these are very sage words of advice. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and look forward to catching up soon.
Thank you.